Hi, I'm Ray Maxwell, and I'm going to show you how to sharpen your images. And then later we're going to find out if I'm normal. Today on The Lab.
Good to see you and welcome. It's time for The Lab. The Lab. The show where we don't sing because you'll yell at me if I do.
I will not yell at you.
No, she's very good-natured. Ladies and gentlemen, Kate Abraham.
Hello.
She's put up with me for 140 episodes of yelling and screaming and chanting. No, I've been very calm.
You have been incredibly
You haven't
calm.
seen the worst of me yet. Stay tuned.
Building.
Hey, Ray Maxwell, one of my favorite guys is here. He's such a good teacher. And he actually has showed me a whole book written about one Photoshop tool. Okay. One particular tool. We're going to talk about sharpening, which Photoshop, for reasons no one understands, calls the unsharp mask. Sharpen by unsharpening. I don't know why. We'll talk about why and when you want to do it and how to do it. It's actually a trick that the masters know that can really make a digital picture pop.
Cool.
Michael Ferguson and Paul Prescott are here. They're going to show you how to build your very own web application. Nowadays, most of the time when you visit a website, it's not just some brochure. It's a program that runs. It has a user interface. It's doing stuff. And that's really what's exciting about the new web, sometimes I call it Web 2.0, is that these things are interacting with you and they're running. You're really using programs, just as you would use Word on your computer, you're using programs on the internet. So how do you make those? Well, we'll find out. Also, Randall Schwartz. You smile when I say that. Why do you smile when I say that?
Karaoke king.
He is the king. Have you ever seen him karaoke?
No, I haven't, but he does keep asking me to go with him, and I can't sing to save my life.
He's a very good singer. I've seen him karaoke on cruise ships.
Right.
I've seen him go, win and go all the way to the top. He's quite amazing.
American Idol style.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I will bear that in mind. I can't sing, so I step away.
Kiss today, goodbye. Anyway, he's not going to sing. He's going to show us Quartz Composer. This is something that's built into all Macs, all late model OS 10 Macs. That is amazing. We're going to create some amazing visualizations for iTunes. You know, when you listen to your music and they do weird things. Did you know you can make your own?
I did not know that.
Yeah, you can have a giant Kate head that goes.
That would be very, very lovely, wouldn't it? Just to put you off your music.
I think I'm in a mood today. Does that mean it's going to be a fun show?
I think it's going to be a fantastic show today.
Let's get to our first caller. We'll see how it goes.
Super duper.
All right.
We have Ian, and he's from Thunder Bay in Ontario with his little man.
With his what?
Little man.
His little man?
His little man.
I didn't know you could do that on TV. Thank you, Kate.
Can.
Let's say hello to Ian. Hello, Ian, and your little man.
Hello, how's it going?
What's your little man's name?
John Paul.
Hey, Jean Paul. He can't hear me, so. Hello, Jean Paul. So what can we do for you, Ian?
I'm wondering, I want to set up a home security network for insurance purposes.
Okay.
I'm kind of wondering if you had any ideas.
Oh, we have many ideas. In fact, we do some stuff here that you might be interested in. We use here, or we have been, I don't know if we have one going right now, we've used a camera called the Axis, AXIS, and you can go, there it is, from Axis Communications at AXIS.com. Sean, see, this is it. This is kind of neat for a security camera because it is wireless networking, does not require a computer. It has a web server built into it. So all you really need to do is plug it into the wall or plug it in somewhere outside and make sure that it has Wi-Fi access somewhere nearby. And you can actually visit this camera on the web. It gets an IP address, so you can actually go out and see what this camera is seeing. They have some that you can even control. So this is the site AXIS.com. That's one way to start. Do you have the ability to hook it up to a computer, or is the computer not near where you want to put the camera?
I could probably hook it up to a computer, yeah. Yeah,
it's cheaper if you don't have to have a camera with a built-in web server, obviously. I mean, these are several $100s because they have that capability. This one can be steered. I mean, it's kind of neat. Actually, I guess it's this one that can be steered. I'm going to show you. There are plenty of surveillance camera sites on the net. I'm going to find one that I've used before in the past. Yeah, homesecuritystore.com. And this has you know, a broad range of cameras. A lot of companies make these. Here's a 4-camera system. They come with everything that you need, recorders and so forth. So there's lots of ways to do this. If you have the computer, it is cheaper and easier to do it because the computer will do a lot of the work that otherwise you'd have to buy a standalone device to do. So you'll see here, these are a whole bunch of different kind of security cameras you can buy. This is a great site for this, HomeSecurityStore.com. Everything from baby monitors, pinhole cameras, night vision cameras even. Here's one that uses a DVR system, so it records to a hard drive. And, you know, so it depends on your price and your need, but I think you'll find anything. What exactly would you like to do? You want to put these outside?
Well, yeah, I guess so. One at the front door and one.
Yeah. They have, a lot of these are mountable in the front door, which is kind of cool. Here's one for a baby. That's really cute. So this is the new thing now is when I had my kids 15 years ago, you listened for them to cry, but now you can actually look and see what they're doing when they're making all that ruckus. These use Wi-Fi technology, so this is a good place to start if you want to put something like this together. Shouldn't cost that much. Which you've shown a lot of these on the air here. Is there one that you particularly like, Sean?
Well, the one that I showed off most recently that I liked was the Swan Security one that had 4 cameras. That they're all hardwired, unfortunately, and it does come with a kit for about $1,000. A bit pricey, but you get 4 cameras. They work in the dark using infrared, and they do. It has a DVR that's built into this thing as well, so you can record for a number of days at a stretch.
Yeah, Swan's been doing. I remember we showed those over there. Yeah, that was a really cool system. They've been doing this for years. I think they're Australian actually, but they've been at this business for a long time, and they make a whole range. Did you show the DVR4?
The DVR4 kit.
Yeah,
yes.
I remember that. Yeah, that was kind of neat. So this would be easy, and now this doesn't use a computer. This records directly to this device. Which has a hard drive built into it. Yeah,
and you can swap the hard drive yourself too if you want more storage space.
That's kind of neat. Yeah, so it's not like the old days with the security cameras in the 7-Eleven and the convenience store where they change they rewind the tape every day. So by the end of the year, all you'd see was a lot of snow. I think they've gotten a lot better. They also have a refurbished factory direct product, so you could save some money there. So this is another good one. Swan Store, SWANN Store. .com. I don't blame you. You want to protect your little guy there, Ian.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for the call. It's good to talk to you both.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, this is a good thing to do. Nowadays, you could even just get a little, Logitech QuickCam and hook it up to your PC. The problem with doing it that way is you have to leave it on all the time. You have to run the software all the time. So sometimes it's better just to get a standalone unit. Hey, coming up, Ray Maxwell's going to be here. He's going to show... Hello there. Oh, isn't that cute? He's going to show you how to sharpen your pictures using the unsharp filter. What? You stay right here. We'll explain all when the lab continues. Welcome back to the lab. Ray Maxwell is a scientist, an engineer, a speaker, and a teacher. And teacher is really what he does best here on the lab. Teaches us how to use our technology to make stuff look better. He's a digital photographer as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about something called sharpening.
That's right.
You brought Bruce Fraser's book, an entire book, hundreds of pages on sharpening, this single subject.
That's right.
And
That's the definitive book on sharpening.
Isn't that funny? I mean, that you could spend so much energy on one thing, but it is an important part of taking a digital photograph and making it snap, right?
If you're a graphic artist or working in the print industry or very high-end stuff, this book is a very good read.
We don't need this. We just need Ray.
Yes.
The rest of us.
But I'm going to show you the first steps of that.
Show us what it is. First of all, am I right? Is this the unsharp mask filter?
I'm actually going to show you the Smart Sharpen filter in Photoshop today, but it's very similar. What Unsharp Mask does is very similar. Smart Sharpen is a little smarter.
It's smarter. Okay. So it's like a tool that uses probably the same technology. But I'm going to show you today with this pattern that I've got what it really does if we zoom in and look at it and so forth. So let's sharpen. Just for a little history, why do they call it
Unsharp Mask? They used to take when they did it all in the darkroom, you actually make a negative with a piece of film, and you put a piece of glass between it to make it unsharp. And then you sandwich it and go through it, and it actually will make the edges sharper.
It appears to make things crisper.
Right. Right,
Okay.
but you made an unsharp mask to make it happen.
So, and as with many things in Photoshop, they use the analog photographers' names like dodge, burn, unsharp mask.
Exactly.
That's what people understand.
Exactly.
All right.
So today I have created this pattern, which is just a bunch of concentric circles.
Okay.
And I've blurred it using Gaussian blur.
So
we're
going to
see if we
we'll
can
see that the lines are not as crisp.
Yeah,
as
they're not as
like.
crisp. In fact, I will zoom in here.
It's soft.
And you can see that it is indeed soft.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. And now I'm going to come back out here so I can grab my filter.
Now that may be a desirable effect, but sometimes
sometimes we want to. We're going to have a look today and see what these filters really do. I'm going to really exaggerate what's going on.
Now this is in CS3 only, this Smart Sharpen tool?
No, it's in CS2 as well.
Okay.
Yes. And
probably not in Elements,
right.
I'm guessing.
But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kick the amount. First of all, I'm going to go down here and select Gaussian blur because that's the kind of blur that I did to make this. And now I'm going to grab the amount and I'm going to turn it way up so we exaggerate things. And now I'm going to increase the radius, which is going to increase the radius around every edge that it finds there. And look what happens.
It really... I don't know if it's sharp. It does something.
Well, as I exaggerate this, I'm going to really exaggerate it. Let's look at what's happening here. What it's doing is it's taking a certain, this was a solid gray level.
Yeah.
As it approaches a lighter level, it first makes it darker, and then it makes jump to a really lighter edge, and then it goes back to the normal gray.
So it's kind of an optical illusion. It's putting a gradient on there that makes it appear to be a crisper transition.
Right, almost looks three-dimensional.
Yeah.
But that makes it look sharper. Now, if I turn down the radius, you'll see that it happens, it isn't as wide in effect.
Yeah.
And
you probably don't want such a grotesque effect.
Right.
You want an appearance of sharpness without an appearance of three dimensions.
But if you see, if I click on this, see, here's before.
Well, there's a big difference.
And here's after.
Much sharper.
And it
looks like it's coming into focus, actually.
It looks like it snaps into focus. Yeah. All it's doing is putting these little edges where it's going dark and then super light and then back to the tone. So it's overshooting, if you will.
So on a photograph isn't as orderly a picture as this.
I've just chosen this to demonstrate what the filter does.
But it's doing roughly the same thing.
It's doing exactly the same thing.
Interesting.
And I've also blown it up here so you can see the effect. Yeah. Now, let me just show you the advanced mode of this filter, because what we can do is we can go into the shadow area and we can fade just in the shadows without doing it to the highlights.
That removes some of that 3D effect.
Yeah. See, in our dark shades down here now, I can control how much sharpening in a particular tone area.
Oh yeah, look at that.
And now if I go to the highlights, I can pull the same trick.
Okay.
I can fade the effect. And I can adjust the tonal width and so forth. Now the other thing in the basic sharpen here is I can go to motion blur, and this isn't how I made this blur, but if you moved your camera, you can adjust the direction of the blur and apply this same filter to sharpen the thing and take out motion blur.
Interesting.
But again, it does the basic same effect, and you can also go into lens blur, which is very close to Gaussian blur.
Okay.
But that's how we make our images sharpen. I would say one more thing about Bruce Fraser's book here, the image sharpening book. What he recommends at the very high end is that the people who really make their living doing this, they sharpen for the input device, be it scanner or camera. Then they sharpen in Photoshop. Now that's usually done in Adobe Camera Raw. And then they sharpen for the subject matter, if it's a tight pattern, a weave, or something like that. And then finally, they do the final sharpening based on what kind of output, because you sharpen differently for an inkjet printer than you do for an offset press.
That's pretty advanced.
That's very advanced.
3 times. Can you show us kind of the basics that the settings everybody would want to at least play with when they're taking a look at their pictures?
Typical settings when you're working on pictures, I usually sharpen around 100 to 150%, and I usually use a radius between 1 and 2 pixels, because that's dealing with the fine detail of a typical picture.
And should you use Gaussian or lens blur?
Usually lens blur, because usually that's what you're dealing with.
Right.
So that's a good starting point.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great information. We have all the details on our website, labwithleo.com. You can also go to Ray's site, maxwellmultimedia.com. He's got photos, all sorts of great stuff.
And I've got a pointer there to an excellent site for Photoshop that actually takes you through this very tutorial called Dr. Brown's Tips and Techniques for Photoshop.
It's Russell Brown. He's great. He's one of the best. He's really fun.
Right.
You are the best. He's just one of them. Ray Maxwell, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Ray. All right, we're going to take a break. Take a look at a very sharp picture of something very close up. You sharpened this. Look at that. That's a great shot. I don't know what it is, though. Do you know? Something commonly found around the lab. Tell you what, we'll zoom out and we'll find out when the lab continues right after this. Welcome back to the lab. Before the break, we showed you this. It is the Shure music phone adapter. Yeah, I knew that. That must be the microphone on it. Boy, I tell you, I don't know how he does that. Sean has this super macro lens. He zooms in on this stuff, and it doesn't look anything like it does in real life. Don't show off, Sean. We know what you're doing. Making me crazy.
Just tricking you the whole time.
Yeah. So, Kate, I think we have a caller. It looks like from Australia, judging by the shirt.
Very happy shirt. This is Peter, and he is from Harriettville in Victoria.
I love that shirt, Peter.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are things in Harriettville?
Oh, it's just excellent here.
I bet it is.
Part of the world.
Looks like summer weather there.
Yeah, it's about 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's already about 27, 28 degrees outside.
Man, meanwhile, it's snowing here in Canada. So,
yeah, well, we're the opposite, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, aren't we? What can I do for you, Peter?
Well, Leo, I've got a friend who gave me this problem, and it's a problem for me too sometimes. In Picasa, when you put in a caption in the edit page, the caption goes in, and then when you try to use that photo in another application, like YouLead DVD Picture Show or something like that, the caption doesn't stay there.
Gone.
I'd like to know how I get the caption to stay there.
It's gone.
So that I can use it in other applications.
Picasa is, I think, a wonderful program. It is from Google now. Google bought it, Picasa. Don't spell it like Picasso. And it is, I think, given that it's free, it is a pretty wonderful photo sharing, cataloging, editing program. And it's beautiful, too. The user interface is fantastic. Now, the good news is Google knows what they're doing. And now, are there many programs that support captioning in a non-standard way and store it in a file somewhere, and then you export your photo and it's poof, gone. But Google takes your ratings, your captioning, all the extra stuff you're putting, and actually stores it in the photo in an industry standard way. So the good news is those captions are there. Are these JPEG photos? Are they stored as JPEGs? I'm sure they are. If it's not a JPEG, this won't work because only JPEGs support this EXIF and IPTC tags. But that's what they're using, is the IPTC tags. IPTC tags were originally created by, I think, the Associated Press. I'm not sure, but they were used predominantly by photojournalists as a way of adding information into a photo that you could keep with the photo. There's another form of photo tagging called EXIF, E-X-I-F, that you've probably heard of. And EXIF is commonly used for things like saving the exposure, the kind of lens used, the date, the time, that kind of thing. So IPTC tags extend that to allow things like a caption. And you can see this is a little complicated, but that's exactly what's happening. Well, the problem is that it won't be visible in a program that doesn't understand IPTC tags, and apparently YouLead DVD Studio is one of them. That's not the end of the world because there are plenty like IrfanView, Photoshop Album, Photoshop itself. There are a great many programs that do understand IPTC tags. So that's what you want to look for. They will see the caption, they'll see the ratings, and anything else that's been stored. Are you familiar? As long as we've got the king of Photoshop here, we should ask him. Are you familiar with this, Ray Maxwell?
Yes,
the IPTC tags?
The IPTC tags are the more professional set.
Yes.
The EXIF were put in by the camera manufacturers And I used to get very upset with them because they would put sRGB in no matter what the color space of the camera really was.
Right.
And but also the IPTC are extendable.
Yes, you can put as much information in there as you'd like. Right. Now, Adobe has a new standard that they would like to promote called XMP that I suppose in the future may replace them. But for a long time to come, EXIF and IPTC will be understood. And Picasa's doing it right, I guess, is the bottom line, Peter. But you have to use a program to burn your DVDs that can read these IPTC tags. My recommendation would be Adobe Photoshop Elements, which is an excellent program, and we'll see the tags.
Right. Okay.
Okay, does that make sense? The good news is it's saved, it's not lost, and it's in the picture. So if you've exported the picture, if, for instance, you burn it to a DVD for backup, unlike non-standard tags that other programs might use, it goes with the picture. So those captions are not lost. I know a lot of people put a lot of effort into captioning and tagging and putting information about their photos into other programs, and if you don't use that program, it's lost forever. It's stored in any file. It goes along with the program, but that's not part of the picture. So that's the good news is Google did it right. So don't worry, you're safe. You probably, if you want to have them show up as part of your video slideshow, you probably want to choose a program that will understand it. And as I said, I know Photoshop Elements does.
Photoshop Elements. Okay,
yep. That's a great program. Not Photoshop Elements, Photoshop Album. Adobe Photoshop Album. Elements usually comes with it. That's why I mention it. But it's a great program. Very similar to Picasa. Picasa will do burning too. So. And IrfanView is free. IrfanView, IRFANVIEW, is free and also does IPTC tags. All right, time to get a shiny. What do you say? Let's stroll on over to Sean Carruthers, who has turned into the Death Star, ladies and gentlemen. Darth Vader. Darth, how are you? Good to see. Your helmet came open, and all this time I thought there was a head in there, but no, it turns out there's a keyboard.
Yes. So one of the challenges with children and learning is getting them to learn.
Yeah.
Darth Vader can help your kids to learn.
Pick up your lightsaber.
Your lightsaber. We have a lightsaber tucked away inside. This is what passes for a mouse in this world.
That's cool.
Let's extend it out. And now you can interact with the screen here.
What should I do? 1 + 1 equals Yoda.
Well, right now you're in the process of selecting from a number of the different games. So
speed.
Whoa, I'm not even sure what you're doing here, but you have various different games like math, spelling, various other things in here that will help your kids to learn. And you turned your lightsaber off. Well, as you can tell, it takes a little bit of practice.
I'm ready.
So, Leo,
this is cool. How much is this?
This is $50. It's from Oregon Scientific. Memory game. Are you as smart as a 5-year-old, Leo?
Is that who this is for?
It's for pretty young kids. That's one thing I did notice about this is that.
What did you just see? Use the lightsaber or the cursor key to select the answer.
Uh-oh.
I'm not as smart as a 5-year-old.
Yes.
So there's a slight difference between the three.
Yeah, so it's aimed at very young children. If you're a little bit older than 5, like maybe you're 8 to 10, it might get a little bit repetitive. But the Darth Vader aspect to this will
look at that.
Will sort of bring a lot of people in. So there we go. It does teach your kids spelling and math, etc. And you can interact with the mini lightsaber, which you didn't seem to be very good at there. And there is a bit of variety in the game, so there's a lot to go through, especially when you're younger. The effects, as you can tell, are a bit cheesy. It has an 8-bit video game quality, and the lightsaber doesn't tuck away cleanly in that little package, that little spot there. Older kids will find it repetitive, and the most unfortunate part about this, your kids may embrace the dark side if they're learning from Darth Vader.
That's okay. The lightsaber is strong in this one. I like it. That's very cool. From Oregon Scientific, that's one of Sean's shinies. And by the way, Sean thought it was broken because he kept trying to pry it open.
Yeah.
Hit the nose to open it up, right?
Yeah, you do this. If you just try prying it open like this,
don't do that.
It doesn't see. Oh, sometimes it works. The force is not strong in me.
Let's take a break. Coming up in just a bit, we're going to design web apps. Yes, you stay right here. The lab continues in just a moment, but first. It's our quiz question of the day. I'm sorry, no lightsabers or Darth Vader helmets for you on this one. Which file system does Mac OS X use for system disks? Is it HFS Plus, FAT32, NTFS, or UDF? I don't know. Let's find out when the lab continues. Welcome back to the lab. It's time to talk a little bit about making your own Facebook application. I love this idea. Are you normal?
Well, turns out I'm about 21% normal.
These guys have created a Facebook application called Are You Normal? Yeah? You want to tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. Well, one of the great things about Web 2.0 and the sort of new generation of apps on the web is that they're social by nature, and so connecting with other people. So
I love this idea.
Yeah, it's a great thing, really. And Facebook's opened up their API to allow us to build applications that plug into their social network, where there are tens of millions of people talking to each other all the time. And we've built an application called Are You Normal, where friends can answer a set of questions and compare their answers with each other and see how normal they are relative to all the other people that have answered the questions.
So this is your page, Michael Ferguson.
Yeah, this is my...
and I see you're only 21% normal. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a very current picture of me, but...
Nobody puts... I have my little kid pictures of me on the page, too. I love that. It's a lot of fun. So how hard is it... We see so many Facebook applications now. How hard is it to develop a Facebook application?
Well, there's a lot of really tricky things about not only building it, but deploying it and maintaining it over time.
Because it runs off your servers, not their servers. Is that right?
Well, it's a little bit of both, actually.
Yeah.
And Paul's here because he's our technical guru, and he led all the development. He can talk about some of the details.
Yeah.
There's a lot of challenging things about building Facebook apps, but once we've kind of cut our teeth a little bit and absorbed some of the wounds ourselves, we're happy to pass some of those insights along.
Is that what Kizen does? This is your company, Kizen, right?
Kinzen, yeah, that's right.
Kinzen, I'm sorry. Is that what it does? It's not just Facebook applications, is it? Or
well, it's not just Facebook applications,
but it's social stuff.
Social networking, that's right. We build applications that help people connect with each other, because a social network is only useful if you can do things with the people that are in it with you. And so we build applications to help people utilize these social networking apps for cool things.
Now, this is a very new space. I mean, Facebook only opened up applications a few months ago.
That's
what
right.
were you doing before then?
Well, we were building social networking apps of our own. So we were building out applications and platforms for doing social networking applications, and we saw this great opportunity to take our IP and move it into a space where there's millions and millions of people.
All right, Paul, show us how this all works here.
Okay, so I'll just quickly show you what Are You Normal is about, so you have a sense of what the app is, and then I'll also...
How normal are you, Paul, by the way?
Oh, I'm about 37. I'm actually quite a bit more normal than Michael.
Okay.
So to find it,
that must be a bug.
The way that most Facebook users find apps is they just go to the search box and type in. So for us, you just type in "Are You Normal?" Once you get there, you'd see a list of surveys, and if you have friends that are already there, you'll see how they've already answered their surveys.
Is it based on other people? So what you answer, you compare to other people, and then 21% means that you're 21% off kilter. Is that what it means?
That's right. There's no one right answer. What we do is we compare your answers to the answers that all the other people have given. So we're not the arbiters.
This is kind of a neat idea. Was this your idea? Who came up with the idea?
I think it was pretty collaborative.
I love it. We have a very creative group, and we all came up together with this idea of not only asking questions, but asking our community to tell us what questions to ask.
That's kind of key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is the community involvement. So,
exactly.
and that's what you've done so well here, because not only are the questions coming from the community, the answers are coming from the community, and you're comparing yourself to the community. It's all about community, really.
Exactly.
Without community, there's nothing here.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So we wanted to also discuss some of the issues in actually building these applications. So we talked a little bit about the social aspects of the front end.
Right.
So one of the tricky parts with a really social application like this is that it's sort of like the wind, right? It can just pick you up and take you off really quickly.
If you're lucky,
that's
thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions could end up using this.
Right. And if you're unlucky, you don't want to have invested for millions of users, right?
Right, that's true. So how do you scale is the question. How do you go from 0 to 60 without really knowing ahead of time how fast you're going to end up having to go?
Right. So what you want to do is develop your application so it can run on multiple computers at once, and then you can buy or rent extra computers as you go.
Yeah.
What we do is we actually use a hosting provider that specializes in Facebook applications, Joyent, and so we can buy a small bit at the beginning when we launch a new app, and then we can just add on extra servers. Oh, geez, it's growing quickly, and every day we can add on an extra server.
Very, very interesting. And you're writing this now in something called called FBML, right? Facebook Markup Language.
Exactly.
Is it like JavaScript? Is it like C? What is it like?
It's like HTML, the Facebook Markup Language, but they also have a JavaScript, which is called FBJS, which is like JavaScript, but just a little bit different.
Just different enough so that Paul had to go crazy figuring it out.
Exactly.
So everything is written in that language. And then you put this program on the Joyent servers.
Exactly.
And then you announce somehow to the world, we've got a Facebook app.
Exactly. There's an application directory that I showed you at the beginning, and you can just tell Facebook, hey, I've got this app, and here's the URL for it at Joyent, and then they send all the requests through Facebook to Joyent,
your server.
Yeah, exactly. And then they run our application and return the results, and then it comes back to the user within Facebook.
Michael, how hard was this to get the world to know about it, though? I mean, what do you do to tell the world there's an application here?
Well, there's a few things. There's not just one thing, and that's part of the trick of these applications is doing the right thing for your kind of app. We started by doing two things. One is by, of course, inviting everybody that we knew. So we did the surveys ourselves and invited all of our friends, and they invited their friends.
You hope you have a lot of friends.
That's right, and that your friends have lots of friends. And it turns out, 6 degrees of separation, millions and millions of people. Yeah. So it grows that way.
So there is a viral part to it.
Well, that's very important to the growth and building your app so that it's interesting enough that it will appear on the list of popular applications.
And then people see it.
That's right. So you can't just put any kind of app in Facebook and expect it to be successful, obviously.
What was the growth curve like? I mean, day 1, day 6, day 20, how did it go?
Yeah, well, I guess we started off just the very first day, because we got on the application directory, pretty high up on the application directory. I think someone saw it maybe at Facebook and liked it. So we got pretty high up on the application directory. So the very first day we got probably 10,000 users.
Oh,
and we were like,
man!
10,000, we weren't expecting that, having not done anything yet. We launched the app, just registered it in the directory, none of our own marketing.
Oh, man!
And then it just grew from there. It's been only a little bit more than a month, and we're now at 750,000 people who have used it.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
That's incredible. And it's because, well, you've designed something that people want to play with, and that's kind of key. Now, there's a lot of issues with designing for Facebook. You're in a closed platform. You're playing their game, their way. Is that difficult? Did you find that challenging, especially coming from an environment where you had a little more control over what you were doing?
Well, absolutely. And I think you need to be very respectful of Facebook's platform.
Yes.
Their terms of service are very tight, and you need to make sure that you build your app according to their terms of service. So if you're building Facebook apps, I recommend that you read the terms of service very carefully.
Yeah. How do you make money on something like this?
Well, there's a couple of different ways. Are You Normal, for us, is really an opportunity for us to deploy on the Facebook platform, cut our teeth a little bit, learn some lessons, but also to promote our brand and those kinds of things.
So you don't mind, you're not putting ads in it, you're not trying to monetize it, you don't mind that it's free, even though you do have fixed costs. Joyent is not cheap. You're going to pay some money for this server bandwidth and so forth like that?
Yeah, well, we're very lucky to be working very closely with Joyent, and it turns out that they're actually quite inexpensive, and they have a number of programs for people that are starting up new Facebook apps. They're a great company that way. We could be putting ads in our app, and we've chosen not to specifically because we want to keep it nice and clean. Many people do monetize their Facebook apps.
I think a lot of what's happening, though, right now on the web is people are saying, we're going to put it out there, we're going to build an audience, we'll worry about figuring out how to make money on it later. And it all works out in the end, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it's just fun to be part of this
it is
amazing
fun to be part
thing.
Of it, yeah. No, it's part of our ongoing plan of developing as a company, and we're planning to deploy a series of Facebook applications over time.
I have a friend, Jake Jarvis, who's just a high school kid who has developed several very popular Facebook applications, and he's getting job offers and people are contacting him. It's kind of amazing what can happen in an amazing environment like Facebook.
Yeah, that's right.
Are You Normal? Just search for normal. You'll find it. It'll pop right up. I'm going to take the test right now. I'll let you know.
I can already tell you how that's going to turn out.
You're 18%. What are you again, Paul?
I'm 37.
37. I'm shooting for 4 or 5, somewhere in there. Michael Ferguson is Chief Product and Innovation Officer at Kinzen. Paul Prescott is the Director of Application Development. And Are You Normal is an example of what you do to become part of this amazing social network that Facebook has become. I can't wait to play with it. That's very cool. Thanks for coming in and telling us a little bit about what to expect. Maybe you guys should write the book on this, and then everybody can be part of Facebook. More of your calls coming up in just a little bit. The lab will be right back after these messages. Stay here.
Welcome back to the Lab with Leo. I'm Kate Abraham, and now it's time for my quick tip of the day. Now, have you ever wanted to tour New York's Chinatown? I've always wanted to, but never had a chance to, so I've got a great website, Gods of Chinatown. It's actually set up by an artist called Isabel Chang, and what she's done is she's created panoramas of the various elements of Chinatown. And the great thing is, once you click through, it becomes completely interactive, and it's so easy to use. And the great thing is, you can actually explore the temples of Chinatown. So there you go, and you can use it to read more. So
how pretty.
It's such a beautiful site.
It's really neat.
So easy to use. And the good thing I like about this site, not necessarily because it's Chinatown, but it'd be so cool if you could do other parts of New York.
Yeah.
So there you go. So the idea is you can basically just tour through Chinatown without ever having to leave your house.
Or the Bowery.
Or the Bowery.
We definitely don't want to go there alone. Oh, trust me. So I found out I'm 20% normal.
That's all right.
That's good.
That's not bad. It could be worse.
Could be worse. I want you to take the test.
Okay,
and we'll see how normal you are. It's kind of fun. It was really fun. Yeah, funny questions, too. Yeah, very funny. I'd be very curious what you say.
I will do it for you now.
So let's get another caller on the air here.
We have Hardeep, and he is from Mississauga in Ontario.
Thank you, Kate. Hello, Hardeep.
Hi, Leo.
How are you today?
I'm very good. How are you doing?
Couldn't be better, even though I'm only 20% normal. I think that's a good thing. I don't want to be... Who wants to be normal, right?
Well, normal is boring, isn't it?
Boring. So why don't you ask a question and I'll answer it in an abnormal way.
Right. Well, okay. Basically, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was talking about how you can install the Mac OS on a PC, on a regular desktop PC. And so I was reading up on it, and I mean, there's a lot of different illegal ways to do it. Obviously, it's not really...
There's no legal way to do it.
No, of course.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, do you think this is a move that Apple will be making sometime in the soon?
That's a very interesting question. So let me explain what's going on. Because Apples now are built on Intel chips, and in fact, Apples are in most ways identical to PCs. There's only one slight difference, and that's how they boot up. They don't use BIOS, they use EFI, but in every other way they're the same. It is possible to modify OS X, the Macintosh operating system, to run on a beige box, a standard PC that you'd buy in the store. It's not very complicated. If you Google Hackintosh or OS x86, and this is the Wikipedia article on this, you'll find very simple ways to modify even the latest version of OS X, Leopard, to run on a standard PC. In fact, I've seen people get it running on all sorts of devices, broad variety of devices. The key is getting this EFI to work like BIOS, and it's not particularly complicated. It's been solved. But when you say, is it legal, here's the key. Apple, in their license agreement, says you have to run it on our hardware. Apple, and this is an important thing to remember, Apple is, as of right now, a hardware company. OS X is an operating system they design for running on their hardware. They make money on the hardware. That's what they consider their business to be. Now, somebody once asked me, well, who has the bigger wallet, Bill Gates or Steve Jobs? And obviously Steve Jobs does not have as much money, Apple does not have as much success as Microsoft. And Microsoft doesn't sell the hardware, they just sell the operating system. They let other companies make the computers. On the other hand, one of the reasons OS X I think is so reliable and robust is because Apple knows exactly what hardware it's going to run on. It's very difficult for Microsoft. They have to design for an almost infinite variety of hardware combinations, right? So Apple has an advantage by saying it's only going to run on the hardware we make. We understand that hardware. We design for that hardware. It's going to work fine on that hardware. You know, ethically, it'll be up to you whether you want to violate the license agreement. Practically, I don't think you're going to get a very good experience. It's a hack. And if you really want to run OS X, the best thing to do is run it on a Mac. Will Apple ever sell OS X in a box for you to put on a PC? I think that's always in the back of their minds. It's plan B. But right now, they're so successful selling hardware, there's not much incentive for them to do that. I don't see them doing that anytime in the near future. But you never know. If the hardware business goes south for any reason, they've always got that as a possibility. So it could happen. Let's take a walk on over here. Right now, Apple runs OS X. Yep. It runs Linux. It runs Windows. So they kind of have the best of all possible
Runs them
worlds.
at the same time.
Yeah. Now, what are you running right now?
I'm running Windows.
And
on
it looks like a star chart of some kind.
It's for Windows. It's called Orbitron. And it's actually tracking satellites. Now, I'm sure there's thousands of satellites and many are classified, so this one doesn't have them all, but it can predict where satellites are. You can tell it where it is. So I've told it that I'm in Vancouver. So down at the bottom right here, it's actually showing me, based on Vancouver,
what's overhead right now?
What's overhead right now. And I'm actually this big kind of circle here is actually the International Space Station.
So it's going to be above us in a few hours.
It might be traveling east over the Atlantic Ocean. And it shows you the time of day, and and you can predict things. So if you're an astronomer, or they said amateur radio people use this, it's just a way of knowing where satellites are and where they're going to be and predicting them.
And it's free.
It's absolutely free. It's called Orbitron.
Our free file of the day.
One of Yule's jewels.
One of Yule's jewels. Where would people find that?
LabWithLeo.com. Click on free files. Yule's jewels are there.
We should just have like a special place. Just YuleJewels.com.
It's in people's hearts. That's the special place.
It is. It's in all our hearts, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
A merry, merry Yule jewel to you. Thank you, Ryan.
Yes, thank you. You're welcome.
The original Yule log.
I am.
Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to talk about Quartz Composer, a way you can do your own iTunes visualizations on the Mac. Randall Schwartz will be here. But before we do that, one more chance to take our quick quiz question of the day. We're talking about OS X. What file system does it use? HFS Plus, FAT32, NTFS, or UDF? I ask you. Well, we'll tell you right after these words. Stay right here. Welcome back to the lab. Before the break, we asked you, which file system does OS X use? HFS Plus. Although, if you really wanted to be sticky, if you meant system disks like the installed DVDs, it would be UDF. So I'll give you half a point for UDF. Now, apparently, Kate is 82% normal. I'm 20%, no, less normal. And Sean is 40% normal. I'm working with a bunch of normal people.
Wow.
You've got to take that too. Are you on Facebook?
I am on Facebook.
Do you like Facebook?
Haven't done much with it.
Yeah. You're not a Facebook type. You're a busy guy.
I'm a busy guy.
Randall Schwartz is here. He's a very well-known Perl programmer, the author of a brand new book, a compilation of your columns for, is it for the Linux Journal that these are from? Or
Linux
the Perl
Magazine
Journal?
And Unix Review and Sysadmin Magazine. Yes.
Right, just some fun stuff. It's called
Pearls of Wisdom.
Pearls of Wisdom.
Yes.
But today he's going to show us how to use a very cool feature in OS X. Now, you have to install the developer tools in OS X to have this, right?
Yes.
But they come on the disk.
Yeah, they do. It's just free. Even if you don't have it, there's a free download available to upgrade whatever you have. And in fact, I recommend checking the developer site from time to time to make sure that you have the latest version.
You have to create a free account to do that.
What Quartz Composer is, it was introduced in Tiger. So it's introduced in 10.4. It's been upgraded for Leopard. I haven't played with the Leopard version yet.
Okay.
But what it does is it lets you visually describe a flow of images through a system, through a series of transformations that are being done by the graphics processor in your machine. So this is for all the machines that have advanced graphics processors like MacBook Pro and the high-end machines like that.
All the Intel Macs.
So yeah, all the Intel Macs basically. So you basically describe a flow of information, and there's many sources like the mouse position or some MIDI keyboard or the eyesight camera or whatever, and there's many transformations you can put on, like spin it around in 3 space and things like that, and many ways that can be rendered.
You know what these transformations are in many cases because if you used Photo Booth or some of the strange photo applications available for the Mac, those are all Quartz transformations. The spin, the mirror, all of that.
iChat and Leopard lets you drop Quartz compositions into there to actually modify the way you look, which is really cool. But another place that this showed up, especially in version 10.4 where I first noticed it, is if you go into the screensaver preferences, you'll notice that some of the screensavers are listed with like this little color image next to it. Like here for RSS Visualizer, there's this little thing over here. And notice the RSS Visualizer is really neat. It has this kind of the real 3D effect, it's spinning around and stuff. That's written using Quartz Composer.
Interesting.
Now what we can do
is it's kind of a visual programming language.
So I like this RSS Visualizer, but let's say I wanted to build on it because I like that, but I really want also the time of day to show up in the corner.
Could you do that?
Yes, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So what I've done is I've gone into the folder where RSS Visualizer is actually in the system. It's under system/library/where. It doesn't really matter where it is.
The screensavers folder, and it's a QTZ file.
It's a QTZ file. That stands for the Quartz Composer thing. So I'm going to drag that, option-click that, drag that to my desktop.
Make a copy, because we don't want to modify the original.
Don't change the originals. That would be bad. Okay. Now I'm going to double-click on that, and it will come up in Quartz Composer.
Again, you have to have the developer tools installed before you get this.
Comes up, and in fact, what we have here is a visualization window, which is doing exactly the same thing.
Okay.
Now over here, we actually have the code that is driving this RSS Visualizer. We could go in and modify that. There's a lot of things in there. I'm not going to touch any of that because all I'm going to do is add the date to it.
What we're actually seeing is kind of a flow chart of how the data goes, what it goes through, and then what. So you start in effect with an RSS feed, which you then
it goes through various things. Now I don't have to understand any of that. In fact, those all came from these building blocks. They're listed over here on the left-hand side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4 more building blocks to put the time of day on there.
This is kind of like the grown-up version of Scratch. programming language for kids we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. So here I'm going to take the system time, and that comes back with this in Unix internal time number. We really don't care. It shows 0 here in the preview. I have no idea why it just shows 0, but it actually shows
it will be a larger number.
Real number there. Then I'm going to grab the date formatter, and that's going to turn that time into something that we can actually pull up.
Because you don't want the seconds. You don't really want the seconds since the startup of the system. You want the current date and time.
Now, here's the two blocks hooked together. Now, if I actually drag from the time to the time here, it connects the two things together. Now, if I double-click on this and pull up my info window, where's my info window? There we go. If we look at it, nope, sorry, it has different settings for how I want to have the time appear and things like that.
Oh, look, there's a kind of a default setting.
Control that, so I'm not going to mess with that yet.
Change that.
I'm not going to mess with that yet. Now, if I look at the string over here, it still says empty string. So I guess in the preview it doesn't work very well, but it will by the time we get it all done. Now I'm going to turn this formatted string into an image by calling up image with string.
Now, this is where the Quartz magic begins.
Exactly. So I'm going to drag this box down here. And again, now it has a lot more inputs and a lot more outputs. So we're only going to need one of them, which is the string input. I'm going to just drag down to here and say that's your string. Now there's also a lot of settings on here, so I can control the font, the size, and things like that. And there's also some other image controls and stuff over here. Again, I'm not going to mess with most of it because most of it actually came out okay for the defaults. And finally, I need one more thing. This creates the image, but it doesn't actually put it on the screen. To get it on the screen, I need a thing called a billboard. And what billboard is a 2D rendering space. It actually takes whatever image I want. Oops, sorry, I want billboard here. Drag this down, and this, in fact, when I finally get this in here, we should see by dragging image over to image here, I will actually see, now notice, here in my preview.
It's doing it.
Okay, but that's not quite right.
Interesting.
Not quite right. I mean, what I really wanted to have, oops, I lost my preview. What I really want to do is move it around a little bit. So I'm going to change, let me get my preview back here.
We're out of time, so quickly do a few things to it. I get the idea of what you can do.
So basically, with a couple more steps, I would have controlled that. Then I could have saved it as a Quartz Composer thing and dropped it back.
Play with it. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
Do something cool with it. When we come back, will you have time in a couple of minutes?
Yes,
all right. We're going to make Randall do some Quartz composing.
Okay.
While we take a break, we'll be back in just a bit. The Lab with Leo continues right after this. Make it Okay, I got a new name for Kate. No more Kate Abraham. We're going to call you Abby Normal.
Abby Normal.
82% normal.
Exactly. I'm actually worried of what actually happened to the rest of it.
Now, you don't want to be so normal.
I want to be hitting 100.
We're all doing Are You Normal? This is fun. Hey, let's see what Randall's come up with. He's been playing this whole break. He only had a couple of minutes. Look, ooh, he...
I made the date wiggle back and forth a little bit, yeah. So I added a low-frequency oscillator to it. So a couple more minutes, I could have had it spin around in different directions and stuff.
You can have it do all sorts of things, but that's the point. And, you know, a fun way to kind of get into this whole idea of visual programming and what you can do with it. I think it's very cool. The Quartz Composer. And a good place to start is one of those Quartz screensavers, because that'll give you kind of the basic code, which you can then modify. Always fun to modify other people's code. That's how I started too. Hey, if you want to be on the show, we'd love to have you, right?
Indeed, we would. labwithleo.com/tech questions.
Just go on there and fill out the form, and who knows, you could be asking your question on the next show. We thank you so much for being here. Tell all your friends this is the place to go to find out all sorts of wild and wacky things about computers and whether you're normal.
Exactly.
We're so normal. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.